Council meeting of the 10th of December 2025 open at 3:30 p.m. I remind all present that mobile phones must be switched off before the meeting and that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Wingecarribee Shire Council acknowledges the Gundungurra and Tharawal people as the traditional custodians of this land. I pay my respects to the traditional custodians, their ancestors who cared for this country for many thousands of years, and their elders and descendants who continue to care for country. I'd also like to extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, including those here today. Councillors, you are reminded of the oath of or affirmation of office made by you under section 233A of the Act and your obligation under Council's Code of Conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflicts of interest. We do have a leave of absence, and I move that is granted to Councillor Heather Champion for the 10th of December 2025 Council meeting on the grounds of the birth of her child on the 28th of November 2025. Could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Duffy. I will now put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. We now move the minutes, confirming the minutes of the meeting held 19th November 2025. I'll take these as read. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kent. I will now put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Smith?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I've already submitted a declaration of interest online. It's a significant pecuniary to item 9.2, the update on Mittagong East, and I'll be leaving the chamber.
Okay. Any other?
Through you, Mr Mayor, item 9.4, wish to declare a non-pecuniary interest for the agenda item. Close family friend held a senior executive role at Woolworths Limited at the time of this matter being considered by staff. Not participated in activities to establish or renew the easement. I will leave the chamber if the matter is debated and then return.
Okay. Do we have any other conflicts? Okay. Thank you. We do have a mayoral minute, and I'm very sorry, I believe I forgot to circulate that, so I'll read it out. And it is, Council extends its congratulations to Councillor Heather Champion and her partner Oliver on the arrival of their daughter Esme Phoebe Paget Tui on the 28th of November 2025. Councillor Champion wishes to pass on gratitude to the amazing midwifery team at Barrel Hospital. It is incredibly exciting to celebrate not just one, but two members welcomed during this council term, a rare and joyful milestone that highlights the wonderful personal moments that unfold alongside our work in public service. These happy arrivals bring a special sense of warmth and optimism to the term, reminding us of the importance of family and vision we are working towards. Let us celebrate this exciting new chapter. I wish Council Champion and her family all the very best as they embark on this new chapter. Would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Duffy.
I would just like to congratulate Councillor Champion, and I'm really excited about another council baby. It's very exciting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Foley.
I would also like to pass on my congratulations to Councillor Champion. I think it's really wonderful news and she's setting a wonderful example.
Thank you. Councillor Molan.
Yes, congratulations to the Champion family, and I look forward to baby Esme sitting in a seat here and advocating for her own views, and yes, a wonderful example, and again, congratulations to Councillor Duffy.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll now put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, I'll move a procedural motion that we resolve that the order of business be changed in order to bring forward the following items by exception, and the officer's recommendation for each item be adopted. The items I'd like to deal with by exception are item 9.4, 9.6, 9.7, 9.10, 9.11, 9.12, 9.14, 9.15, 9.17, 9.18, 9.19 and 12.2. Are there any items within this list that any councillors would like to speak or vote against? Councillor Molan.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to speak to 9.7, Community Financial Assistance Framework.
9.7, okay. So we now have, I'll just go through one more time. We have 9.4, 9.6, 9.10, 9.11, 9.12, 9.14, 9.15, 9.17, 9.18, 9.19 and 12.2. I will get a seconder for that, please. Councillor Duffy, all those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, first we have 9.1, submissions, Sydney Airport Draft Master Plan 2045. The recommendation is on page 6 of the agenda. Could I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Duffy, seconder. Councillor Russell. Councillor Duffy.
I'd just like to speak for this motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Russell.
I have some questions through you, Mayor.
Sure.
In regards to the Southern Highlands Agribusiness and Equine Industries Summary Plan, I noticed this has a council logo on it. Has it ever come to a council meeting?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll need to take that on notice because those two reports were prepared before my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Russell.
I would like to move an amendment.
Got the wording for that?
The wording is that council remove reference to the Southern Highlands Agribusiness and Equine Industries Summary Plan in the submission. Sorry, the council remove the reference to that. That next point is going to be in point 2 page, so you can, yeah. So that council remove reference to the Southern Highlands Agribusiness and Equine Industries Summary Plan in the submission. And then 2, that council adopt the amended submission at attachment 1. And then point 3, that council place, and you can probably cut and paste, the Southern Highlands Agribusiness and Equine Industries Summary Plan. Comma, oh, sorry, yeah. And the Southern Highlands Agribusiness and equine facilities summary plan on public exhibition for a period of 60 days.
Okay, could I get a seconder for that, please? Okay, that has elapsed for want of a seconder. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
I have a question through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. I noticed this is due in 2 days. Why are we, it seems quite late notice, why are we only seeing this submission now?
General Manager.
Director, Communities in Place.
Through you, General Manager, this master plan is not an activity that is one that was recognised for council to undertake activities. It's simply in response to the airport releasing it. So I suppose it's reactive work, and that's why you're seeing it. And we have council meeting cycles, and it's before us now. That is why.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Moylan.
I have an amendment to make, Mr Mayor.
Yep, sorry, can I get the wording?
That council adjust the submission at attachment 1 and then continue that sentence, please. And then a colon where the full stop is, please. And then next paragraph. Actually, instead of the colon, space, to include reference to and advocate for, colon, and then next paragraph, please, Roman numeral 1, cattle, comma, sheep, comma, goats, and all other livestock. Colon 2, potential noise impacts. Colon, thank you, point Roman numeral 3, public transport with appropriate detail to advocate the point.
Okay. Could I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Russell, Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This submission is quite light on, in my opinion. It is very important that we have a strong advocacy document for the Sydney Airport draft master plan, and we must see it in the context of the pending opening of the Western Sydney Airport, because there will be a cumulative impact. Firstly, my amendment here makes sure that we include all livestock. I'm delighted to see the detail in the submission around equine. Equine is a $37 million business for the Southern Highlands, and that's just for the thoroughbreds. There's also tourism that comes with our equine industry. We need to also capture all other livestock, cattle, sheep, goats, etc. So this is very important that we have all of the detail in this submission for equine and our racehorse industry, and our non-racehorse industry and all other agriculture. To my second point, the potential noise impacts. Currently, this shire doesn't come into the regulations around noise impacts. However, this is always something that you need to continue to defend. And if when the Western Sydney Airport is opened, there could be a cumulative impact, and we need to protect the current noise levels for the Wingecarribee. Thirdly, public transport. This is a big point we need to advocate for and include in our submission. Public transport enhancement by road and rail and buses and any transport needs to be front and centre in this submission. This will help not only business, but obviously commuters as well as the public. So I would like to see a lot more stronger and strident submission here with all of the detail that I know we have at Council to put forward a stronger advocacy piece for the Sydney Airport Draft Master Plan.
Thank you very much. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
It's very important that we make sure that we don't lose our focus on our food industry in the Highlands. We have some of the premier basalt soils, and our Southern Highlands Regional Livestock Exchange it's such a great service, and we know that we've got people coming from a wide area to utilise the service. It's actually Council's cash cow and is keeping us afloat at a time when when councils across the country are in a financial sustainability crisis. So we've got to make sure that we are really not losing prime agricultural land by not supporting and prioritising and raising that up. I would like to say that I am going to support this. I hope that councillors are listening. I have concerns that we have a document in our submission that has significant inaccuracies in it. The Southern Highlands Agribusiness and Equine Industries Summary Plan never came to Council. I have to commend the key stakeholders for their advocacy on behalf of the thoroughbred racing industry in particular, but there's a lot of people on the list for those two documents that I raised before who had no knowledge of the document's existence. For example, in the facilities strategy, it mentioned a plan for the Moss Vale Showground, which Council doesn't own, and the owners of the showground weren't aware of the document.
Sorry, we've got a point of order, Councillor.
We want to make sure that
Russell,
there's...
just 2 seconds, we've got a point of order.
Are we not speaking about the
Yeah,
Sydney
look, I'm going to
Airport?
uphold that point of order. Could you please keep to the amendment? Thank you.
I have significant concerns in the integrity of the document if it's referencing...
Sorry, Councillor.
Yes, I know, but because this submission is about, it has this...
Councillor, we've had a point of order. Stick to topic. Please just speak to the amendment at hand.
Thank you. So if the point of the amendment is to make sure that we're not preferencing one particular industry over others, and that is my point. So I'm commending Councillor Moylan for the inclusive approach that ensures that we're taking a balanced advocacy position as a council, advocating for the whole community.
Thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Kent.
Question to the General Manager through you, Mr Mayor, thanks. Can I just have some comments on Roman numeral 1, 2 and 3? My observations about Roman numeral 1 is the submission talks about the livestock transfer facility, and I'm wondering if such livestock that's mentioned in Roman numeral 1 may be covered by that. In terms of Roman numeral 2, the submission does discuss noise impacts, and pardon my pun, I'm not really that interested in putting in submissions that make noise for the sake of it, so I'd appreciate some feedback. Thanks.
Agenda Manager, you have 2 questions there.
Yep, thank you, Mr Mayor. I will ask the Director to respond, but in terms of point 2 around the ANEF or the noise, I don't believe we're under the aircraft path, but Mr McCabe or Ms Linton will be able to respond to livestock and transport points. Mr McCabe.
Through you, General Manager, livestock is profiled in the submission. It doesn't go down to the detail of each type of livestock. There is a focus on equine, but it does represent livestock generally.
Okay.
Mr Mayor, may I speak to a misunderstanding and misrepresentation?
Yep. Could you tell? But we have a few of these in the meeting. Could you just explain exactly what was said that was before you speak to misrepresentation, and by who, please?
So certainly, Mr Mayor. So Councillor Kent and the General Manager referred to us not being under the current flight path and noise regulations. So when I spoke to this amendment, Mr Mayor, I did refer to the context of the pending Western Sydney Airport, and that we need to look at this, and that's the reason for my point number 2, to look at any potential, that's why I've got that word there, potential noise impacts.
Thank you for
and
clarifying.
Advocate for that.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to this amendment? Okay. I will now put this amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Duffy, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell. All those against? Councillor Fitzpatrick, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith. That is lost. We are back at the original motion. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
I would like to put forward a different amendment that is, rather than putting both of those, so if I went to what I had before, because I don't think people quite understood.
Sorry, Councillor, if it's relevant, if it's been voted down and it's close, we can't accept it. I'll just defer to governance and check that. Has to be a different.
Yeah, it will be different.
The wording, please.
That council remove the entire paragraph that includes reference to the agribusiness equine facilities.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm gonna rule that out of order. It's and we're going to move on. So I'm not going to allow that. So if we can, would anyone else like to speak to this? No. I'll now put this motion. All those in favour? It is Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell. Item 9.2, update Mittagong East Investigation Area. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Kent and a seconder. Councillor Duffy, Councillor Kent. Oh, apologies. Before we do anything, Councillor Smith's going to leave.
I have a question to the General Manager through you, please, Mayor. We heard in the public forum from Jonathan Hayne from the EG Group that, I'll put it in plain English, from the EG Group's point of view, we're good to go, is how I interpreted that. And in the business paper, we have a recommendation to wait, to basically not align with the submission in the public forum and to wait, I think, for option C, which is to incorporate this work into a review of our local housing strategy at some point in the future. Could I just get some background and feedback, A, as to whether the professional officers agree that the work of EC Group currently is good to go, and 2, just some background as to why option C has been recommended. Thanks.
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr McCabe, and then Ms Linton may wish to colour it in a bit. Thank you, Mr McCabe.
Through you, General Manager, yes, Ms Linton may have to help. In relation to Jonathan Haynes' representations, he quoted that their planning proposal was completely in line with the local housing strategy. Now, if you look at page 11 of your council business paper, figure 2, there's a pink shaded area in the top left corner of the Mittagong East new living area. The local housing strategy proposes 40 lots. That's your current strategy. So the planning proposal, which was submitted at the end of last year, proposed 242 lots. And then it was revised, proposing 676 lots. At that time, there was agency referrals, and state agencies had concerns, particularly Sydney Water, Water New South Wales, around infrastructure and the impacts of lack of infrastructure on the environment, for example. Now, the other thing I'll say is we all know there's a housing accord. All levels of government have signed up to it. Housing is critically important. And for us, and for you as a new council, newly elected council, we believe that the local housing strategy, of which you have an action in your operational plan at the moment, to do a review, and that's underway, which then we're proposing a budget for 26-27 for a redrafting to some extent based on the outcomes of that review, which will be reported to council next year. So in relation to housing generally and in relation to the ambition of proponents, we too want to support additional housing, but we have to make sure it's in the right location and that the infrastructure is in place. And that's why we're proposing a review of the LHS. That's why we're proposing a full structure plan for the site.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kent.
Thank you very much for that answer. And now I understand more as to the background to the officer's recommendation. My other sort of question on this is the top of page 15. The material talks about, if we defer preparation of the structure plan, that the landowner may lodge a planning proposal, and essentially it could end up with the state government to make a decision. In the context of what we have out the back here at Mossvale and Ashbourne, where the local input, we lost local input and we ended up with what we've got. So my concern or question then in concern is, what are the risks if we adopt the officer's recommendation to incorporate this as part of the review of the local housing strategy? What are the risks of having another Ashbourne? Thank you.
Gentleman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr McCabe.
For you, General Manager, with New South Wales Planning System, there are several planning pathways for proponents or councils to rezone land. We're taking a structured approach for our shire, for our population, for our infrastructure. Proponents have the legal right to lodge a planning proposal whenever they want. And there's two pathways at the moment that are clear that can occur. One is a planning proposal for council to assess, and the other is through the newly established Housing Delivery Authority. So the proponent has those choices, but the question always comes down to alignment with strategy and alignment with delivery of infrastructure. And that's what we're trying to make sure that we have a plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much. Councillor Mullum.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. Who are the proponents for this subdivision? We heard from the speaker it was the Webb family. Who are the other proponents, please?
General Manager. I don't know if it's...
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We'll have to take that on notice, Councillor.
Okay. I'd like to speak to this. Councillor Mullum.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. Stage 1 of option C is to commence in this financial year. Has budget been put aside or allocated for stage 1?
General Manager.
Yep, through you, Mr Mayor. I believe that the Director said that the work has already commenced through staff resources. Mr McCabe, is there anything else to add to that? No.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, if Council had been thinking that they were of a mind because of the Sydney Water consultations to delay this decision to a broader review, why was the proponent asked to go back and prepare more reports for Council?
General Manager.
Mr Mayor, Mr McCabe.
For you, General Manager, that certainly wasn't under my watch or my instruction. Basically, the recommendations here are in line with the local housing strategy with a new living area of 40 lots. We're exploring whether that can expand.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, when was Council first made aware of this particular planning proposal for a larger section of land?
Gentlemen.
To you, Mr McCabe.
Through you, General Manager, if you look to your report, page 12 talks about an initial planning proposal in 2019.
Councillor Russell.
When we come to review the local housing strategy, what sort of timeframe will the community have to have input into that?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr McCabe.
Generally, it's quite extensive. At minimum, it would be a draft strategy exhibited for 28 days. But generally, with those type of strategies, there's some workshops with the community, etc., to inform a revised draft and then exhibition period, adoption, etc.
Thank you. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The report extensively lists the contemplated risks. My question, Mr Mayor, through you to the General Manager, is how are we going to mitigate those risks?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to Mr McCabe.
The mitigation of those risks is by choosing one of the options. Officers have recommended C, which would result in a revised LHS, so population, impact of population, and then a structure plan specifically for the area, so the infrastructure which is site specific to that precinct, and then you also have contribution plans associated with new living areas to be drawn up, and you also have site specific DCPs.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, what could be the benefit of Council retaining control over this development proposal with the knowledge that if we don't, then the state could take it over? So what are the benefits of Council having control or state, cost benefit?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before I hand over to Mr McCabe, what I would say is the councillors that were at the recent state local government conference would have heard from Kirsten Fishburn, and Kirsten is part of the HDA, and in her address to the audience, she made it clear that, yes, as Mr McCabe outlined, there are two planning pathways. What the HDA also look at is what strategic work is underway at the council. Are they proactively undertaking work, and what is their timeline around that, as well as what Mr McCabe just said around infrastructure. Mr McCabe, would you like to add to that?
For you, General Manager, all I will say is you are the custodian of adopted strategic documents. They are what they are today. We have to deliver on those. Now, there's opportunity to explore what they mean in a contemporary set, particularly the local housing strategy and where housing goes. I mean, that's probably the biggest risk is, where housing is placed and council leading that conversation, adopting strategies to deliver it.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy.
I understand this is a strategic recommendation. I'd just like to speak for this officer's recommendation for this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
I'm against this motion.
Councillor Russell.
I've got another question, Mayor, through you to the General Manager. I actually asked, and I would like to know, what would be the benefits of Council retaining control of the process right now? If we were to say, yes, we will enable this housing development to go ahead, and so we take control rather than going to state, what would be the benefits for council in that approach?
General Manager.
Mr McCabe?
Through you, General Manager, it's not a matter of taking control. A proponent has a proposed master plan. They can lodge a planning proposal. You have an adopted local housing strategy which has yield and impact far less than what is proposed. It's not about grabbing their strategy and running with it, because your strategies and your infrastructure, or our strategies and our infrastructure, don't align to that.
Thank you. Councillor Moylan.
I'll speak to this, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to commend the staff on this report. I think it explains the nuances of development and complex development very well. It clearly articulates all the risks that have been contemplated, and I particularly appreciate the cost estimates involved in the various options, and the staff are to be commended on this report itself. I am in favour of the recommendation put forward by the staff. If we take this approach for this development, it sets a very dangerous precedent, in my view. Currently, this development proposition is superfluous to our housing strategy. We've gone from 40 lots to 676 lots, and it just hasn't been incorporated into our housing strategy. We cannot make isolated decisions outside of the overall strategy. And I would like to commend staff on taking this holistic and strategic approach. A review of our local housing strategy enables us to take a holistic approach, and it enables us to consider factors like affordability, character, diversity, access to services, access to the road network, which is critical. But overall, the most overwhelming consideration in this is it allows us to check if council has capacity to fund the necessary infrastructure. Any development will fail if we don't have the supporting infrastructure, not to mention the school availability. So I 100% support staff on this recommendation, and I am pleased to see that the risk of the proponent going ahead without us is not a fear factor in this decision. We must do the right thing, and the right thing is to look at our housing holistically and review the local housing strategy.
Thank you. I concur with Councillor Moylan's comments there. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
I would like to thank Councillor Moylan for her considered response to this. It's certainly a complex issue because we are in a housing crisis, and it's a tricky position to be in when we've gone and we're informed by a member of the community, albeit someone who has money and development in the game, but that council has gone out and requested that they invest further money in a proposal and then come back. And I would hope that we do not do this often, that we shift sands like this, because to me the clear and consistent message should have been to that proposal then, I'm sorry, it's not part of the housing strategy. We can't consider it because we're sticking to this. And I would like to see that in future we don't have a situation where someone has been told to go out and invest more, only to be told that, oh, well, it's not part of the strategy, so council staff are advising you don't go ahead. So on that, I love strategy. We're here to do strategic vision, strategic planning. And we want to make sure that we're all consistent in that message across council, as councillors and in management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kent.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to General Manager, just like to check something that Councillor Russell said. She seemed to give the impression that council hadn't been clear in communicating with the proponent as to the current planning situation and the lot number that is currently endorsed. I'm fairly confident that wouldn't be the case. Can I please get some comment on that?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I would have to take that on notice because we'd need to talk to the strategic planning officers in Ms Linton's team, and they've been here during this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else like to speak to this? Okay, I'll now put this motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. And I will call Councillor Smith back in if we can, please. Okay, item 9.3, part vacant land, 14 to 16 Bessemer Street, Mittagong, lease to Amplitel, Proprietary Limited. The recommendation is on page 17 of the agenda. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Foley, and a seconder, Councillor Kent. Councillor Foley.
Yep, just a question to the General Manager through you, Mr Mayor. The space that's being leased, the 100 square metres, is there any other potential use for this space, noting the SES who are also on that site?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Ms Jones.
I'll ask Ms Parks to respond.
Thank you. Through you, General Manager. At this stage, we haven't pegged it for any other development.
Any other questions?
So today we're being asked to consider the lease only. What would be the so another question through you, Mr Mayor. What would be the progress from here in terms of a DA, and would there be any involvement of the planning panel?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I might ask Mr McCabe to explain the process in terms of any application. Thank you.
Through you, General Manager, regardless of this lease, when land owned by council is the subject of a DA, where council is a consent authority, the DA will be assessed by an independent consultant planner, and it will be referred to Wingecarribee Local Planning Panel for determination. Okay, so that is our policy. In relation to the planning pathways, we've spoken before about state legislation trumping local legislation when it comes to planning. So the Transport and Infrastructure SEP makes telecommunication facilities permissible on land across New South Wales regardless of zoning. Okay, so all zones. Specifically, Division 21 of a SEP applies to telecommunication facilities. The SEP prevails if there are any inconsistencies with local controls, such as LEPs and DCPs. This is an important point, as reliance on local planning legislation is not guaranteed, and in the case of a DCP, it is only a guideline. In relation to the proposal itself, I've had a look at it personally. I believe a development application is required. There are provisions in the SEP which allow a public authority to achieve a telecommunications tower without a development application. However, the proposed lessee is not a public authority. So there's some, areas in the SEP itself which sort of detail what is required for development with consent. It basically says what is not exempt or complying development in that SEP. I've had a look at that, and I believe a DA would be required.
Thank you. Councillor Farrell.
I'll speak for the motion. I believe that it's only for the lease of the land. It's not for there's no DA at the moment, so it's for the lease of the land. We work the rest through later.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Probably a question to the General Manager through you, Mr Mayor. My interpretation of what the Director Communications Place said is, my summary of it is if the council sees fit to grant the lease, that really the technology as currently in the attachment of the business papers, which could include a 30-metre high monopole. Really, once the lease is granted, then other items come into play, and the council kind of might be subject to constraints and rules that it loses control of, just in a layman's reading of this. So I'm trying to understand whether really our decision point is to grant the lease or not, because once we grant the lease, it sounds like it sort of goes off into the ether, pardon the pun.
General Manager.
Mr Mayor, it's really a matter for the council to decide today if they wish to grant the lease or not.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Smith.
A question to the General Manager through you, Mr Mayor. So if it goes to the DA process, I would imagine then there would be community consultation involved at that stage. Is that correct?
General Manager.
Yes.
Okay. Would else like to speak to this?
I think I think I was too brief in my answer. Mr McCabe.
For you, General Manager, the timing of a development application is unknown. We had a recent bill that was passed by Parliament in relation to amending the Environment Planning Assessment Act that empowers the Planning Secretary to create a statewide notification policy for DAs. So we don't know what that is. So I suppose there's no guarantee. There's our consultation requirements at the moment. But what I will say is the fact that it has to go to the local planning panel then requires a public meeting on it rather than done through delegation, which allows speakers to register, and all objectors during the notification period are advised of that meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
And to clarify, the matter before us is simply in relation to the lease itself. It doesn't guarantee any approval through you, Mr Mayor.
General Manager.
That's correct.
Okay, let's like to speak to this. Councillor Smith.
And one final question. I assume that this must have been identified as an issue. Is that correct as far as mobile phone coverage? So through you, Mr Mayor, to the GM.
General Manager.
Yep. Through you, Mr Mayor, my understanding is that the tower that's currently servicing Mittagong is due to be decommissioned. So there is a need to provide a new tower. Running alongside that, we also have a property strategy, and a point in our financial strategy is to look at how can we activate our land.
Okay, so speak to this. Councillor Foley.
Yep. So this item raises the challenge, I think, of balancing reliable telecommunications with town character, with maximising income from council's vacant land. As we've just heard, we have a property strategy, and the tower would occupy land that, as we've heard, has no other use, and so it would be, the lease makes sense financially as it's generating income from a space that's otherwise underutilised. I think One Modern Life demands strong connectivity for working from home and just for, general life. We have to accept that this type of infrastructure will have a visual impact no matter where it goes. The decision before council is to endorse the lease today, as Councillor Smith pointed out, where it would then proceed to a DA stage where the planning merits would likely be assessed by the planning panel. I'm still not sure where I sit on this one, so I really appreciate hearing from others on this one who've spoken so far.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll now put the motion. All those, sorry, let me just, we're not an amendment or anything, are we? No. Sorry, apologies. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent. That is carried. Item 9.5, planning proposal to include tourist and visitor accommodation in the E1 local centre zone post-exhibition. The recommendation is on page 22 of the agenda. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Duffy, a seconder. Councillor Moylan. Councillor Duffy.
I would just like to speak for the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And it's Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll speak for the officer's recommendation here today. I stand by the community and the villagers who asked for this. It will boost the economy to the villagers. The main thrust of this change is administrative. It's an administrative cleanup of the inconsistencies with the previous definitions. So it will ensure that we apply the LEP accurately and correctly. Importantly, there is not going to be, or not considered, any detrimental impact to the character of the villages. The planning proposal does not affect the current complying development pathways and also does not affect rental accommodation within individual homes. I don't accept the correlation between this planning proposal and the housing crisis, which was discussed last time we looked at this. In fact, I think if this Shire wants to address the housing crisis, we can do it through approving DAs faster and reviewing the local housing strategy, which we have just resolved to do. And we can also only approve and support subdivisions that are not on flood-prone areas and that are thoughtfully thought out, and council has the funding capacity to support the infrastructure required. So I fully support this recommendation, and I look forward to some more bed and breakfasts in the villages.
Thank you very much. I'd like to speak to this. Okay. I'll now put this motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 9.7, Community Financial Assistance Framework Policy Draft for Adoption. The recommendation is on page 29 of the agenda. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Moylan, a seconder. Councillor Foley. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. For the most part, I agree with this policy. However, I do not agree with not allowing eligibility for funding on the grounds of any connection with gambling, and in particular the Bong Bong small business. The reason I don't support that particular piece in the policy is I don't think it's council's role to look after what is a national, indeed an international social issue. I don't think we have that role. But secondly, there's a lot of good that comes out of Bong Bong races. It taps into one of our biggest tourism opportunities. Equine is a $37 million business in this Shire. We need to support it. It's also a traditional event. So I think Bong Bong business should be supported in any way it can by council. And I think we're completely overreaching to suggest that there's any support by council to gambling harm. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
I have a question. So was Councillor Moylan moving that with a change, or was that just...
Sorry, did you have amendment with that?
Yes, thank you for the question. I would like to change the section in the policy not allowing eligibility for Bong Bong.
Yep, I'll second that.
So we're moving the change.
Moving amendment. Sorry, yep, and I'll second that.
Through you, Mayor, do we need to think about conflicts of interest in this in relation to association with the thoroughbred racing industry?
Everyone has to manage their own conflicts, Councillor. I can't speak to other people's conflicts, sorry. If you feel you need to leave for this, then I suggest you do.
I don't. I'm just suggesting that that's, you know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Moore, would you like to speak to this amendment? Sorry, do we have it on the screen? So it was to...
We haven't got the word.
Okay, so it was to remove the commentary around gambling. Is that correct, Councillor Moylan? Yeah, actually we might have I'll move a procedural motion and have a short break while we work out the clause. I'll move that. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 30, we were with Councillor Moylan's amendment. I was seconding that. Councillor Moylan, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the amendment I am proposing is to remove the section in the framework and the policy that says organisation of or events that promote, support or are associated with gambling activities. And as I said before, I do not see the role of council to address the international issue of the social harm that comes from gambling. I do see council having a role to support a small business called Bong Bong Races, who incidentally won Business of the Year for the Shire and has also promoted and made happen a traditional horse race at the Bong Bong horse races for years and years and years. And I think we can support them by allowing them to be eligible once again for a very small grant amount to promote this race. This race goes straight to the heart of our tourism potential. It goes straight to the heart of our strategic approach of supporting equine industry even more than we currently do. So I don't see the social harm of gambling being a reason not to support what is so important to this Shire.
Thank you very much. I agree with Councillor Moylan. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Farrell.
Yes, I support what Councillor Moylan just said. Everything she said, actually.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Foley.
I'll speak against this amendment briefly. While I fully support the Bong Bong picnic races or the Bong Bong as an organisation, I do think that council does have a say in where we give our money, where we give our grants. The social harm that comes from gambling is widespread, especially among certain demographics. And I think that if the amendment read the removal of the word organisations and was simply events that promote, support or associated with gambling, I would be comfortable with that. That way we can still support Bong Bong as an organisation, but just not support any particular events, whether they're Bong Bong or other organisations that are promoting gambling.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to this. Councillor Russell.
I commend Councillor Moylan for her thought on this. I think that we need to be very careful with public money, and we as councillors are custodians of public money to make sure that it is serving the community good. Where there can be any question of that, I think that we need to be very careful. We have a lot of hard-working community organisations out there on the ground who are actually picking up the pieces after, unfortunate problems with gambling. And on that basis, I can't support this amendment. It's not about my personal feelings about whether, we should be able to enjoy a flutter or not and whether we can manage that. It is just a fundamental issue of how we spend public money to do no harm, ensure good, and that on that basis I can't support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
I'd like to speak against this amendment. I could possibly support something that said associated with online gambling. I think it's probably a bit left field, but my perspective on this is that, most of us have fluttered on the Melbourne Cup when it was back in the day, but the thing that's doing real harm now are the online gambling. Having just attended the recent Bong Bong, it's all on track. It's on track gambling. In other words, it's bookies on track. There's nothing online, and I think the real harm in society associated with gambling is the online stuff. So I could support it with an amendment around online, but not as currently. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
I'd like to speak for Councillor Moylan's amendment. I think that this particular statement is too broad-reaching for a policy such as this, and so I think that I'm comfortable that the framework and the policy itself has enough things in place to really guide that there will be wise decisions made around these sort of grants. So I think the removal of this particular line is wise, and it avoids unintended consequences.
Okay. Councillor Moylan, would you like your right to reply?
I have a question,
sure.
actually, Mr Mayor, through you to Councillor Foley. So I'm understanding you're proposing that the amendment be changed to remove organisation, is that, and the word or, is that correct?
I would be supportive of an amendment that allowed the Bong Bong organisation to continue to apply for and be given grants for activities that they may hold that don't have a gambling component.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Moylan, would you like your right of reply?
Mr Mayor, I'm just trying to work out a way that we can accommodate Councillor Foley's suggestion, which will also mean that I can achieve the intended purpose of this amendment.
Yeah, we need to, irrespective, we need to deal with this amendment. So, so would you like your right to reply on it?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for all of those who contributed to the debate. I take on board Councillor Kent's argument that online gambling is an activity that has far-reaching social harm consequences. However, if we insert online gambling in this wording, it will have the effect of still stopping Bong Bong picnic races from being eligible to achieve or receive a grant. So whilst I take on board the point and I agree in the context of what we're looking at here, the intended impact will be paradoxical. Thank you for Councillor Smith's contribution to the debate. I think it was a very good point to say that this line itself, which is currently in our framework documents, encapsulates exactly what is intended, is to allow this event to continue. And it also goes to the point that we are not in a position as government, local government, to help people with gambling problems. But moreover, and perhaps to Councillor Foley's point, I don't see a role for local council to help individuals who may be suffering social harm from gambling. And I do not want to give the impression that local council, is responsible in any way for gambling issues that an individual might have. I see the overwhelming good that comes out of this is supporting tourism, which means supporting jobs and supporting small business. And we need to take a balanced approach when looking at this decision. Thank you.
Okay, I'll now put this amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against? Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Russell. That is carried. That is now, actually, that is the motion. That's it. Item 9.8, Code of Meeting Practice, Public Forum Policy for Adoption. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Smith. And a seconder, Councillor Farrell. Sorry.
I'd like to move it with the officer's recommendation with an addition.
Okay, so I'll retract that seconder. I'll get the wording for that, please.
I move, and I believe you have this, I move the officer's recommendation with an addition that the following definition of misrepresentation be included in the Code of Meeting Practice, and that means a councillor has described, summarised or repeated another councillor's words in a way that is incorrect, improper or false.
Okay, could I have a seconder for this, please? Councillor Foley, Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to this motion with a change? Actually, this is just the motion, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have, in our previous council meetings, quite a bit of misrepresentation coming up, so I think it's just really important for clarity we put that into our code so that we're very clear in black and white on this particular issue.
Would else like to speak to this motion? Councillor Moylan.
I don't support this change. I think that it's a further restriction on councillors when they are speaking. And in the context of this overall document and the changes made, we have one restriction after another after another. I think in the cut and thrust of a debate, to expect a councillor to verbatim repeat a councillor's previous comments is getting away from the intention of the original clause. But also this is completely inconsistent with code of meeting practices of other councils.
Okay, would else like to speak to this motion? Councillor Russell.
I have a series of questions. Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager. In the response to many of the submissions that raised concerns that there would be any editing of the live stream recording by management, an often repeated statement from staff in response was that we could take that out because staff could do, it could be done by management anyway. Are those guidelines requirements for council to follow? So if we put in a provision that we stipulate that we do not edit the recording without legal advice?
General Manager.
Mr Mayor, I'm going to defer to our governance guru, Ms Lidgard.
That is a guide issued by the IOLG considering risk and how councils should protect themselves against risk with webcasting. So it would be our strong advice not to put a clause in that we don't edit.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
I'm against this motion.
Sorry,
Councillor Russell.
I would like to put an amendment to this.
Over wording, please.
Yes. That with the following changes. So attachment 3, with the following changes. That item 3.10 comma 3.12 comma and 3.13 are removed. Full stop. And number 2, that I've got that council at the top, sorry. Management do not have provision to edit the live stream recording after it has been broadcast unless there has been legal advice sought that any part of the proceedings could expose council to defamation proceedings with a significant cost associated, and that all parties affected by the edited recording are able to access that on request.
Okay. Could I have a second for this, please? Councillor, sorry, Councillor Smith.
Is this an amendment to my?
Yeah, I've just so I'm seeking a because you hold the motion as it is, and I'm just seeking a seconder to amend.
Would you like to adopt
Sorry,
that?
2 seconds.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, could the manager governance just clarify where we're up to with your change, Councillor Smith, and with this proposed amendment with Councillor Russell? Thank you.
Councillor Smith, you have the motion. So we're now dealing with an amendment. Councillor Russell, I'd just like to say with 310, you can't delete all of 310 because part of that is mandatory.
The changes to item 310. That item 3.12 and 3.13 are removed, comma, and that the changes to, or the additions rather, to 310 are removed to bring it back to the model code provided by the Office of Local Government.
Okay. Councillor Moylan, you were seconding, is that correct? Councillor Russell?
We had an incredibly significant number of submissions on this item, and to me, the fact that we've said, well, we can do it anyway, so it doesn't matter, we don't have to include it in the draft, is not responsive to the core contention that we need to be transparent, and that's part of the Code of Meeting Practice. We are here to engage as council, as community representatives in a transparent and responsible manner. I think that the fact that the live stream recording can't be edited means that we have accountability, and it's not just, everyone has accountability in that space. Should someone say something that leaves us in a position where there could be legal proceedings, well, that is a matter for the court. We all know if we've got someone coming over, we tidy our house a lot faster. I'll tell you, I am so much more efficient at tidying my house if I know someone's coming and watching and looking. And I think that in local government, I agree, we don't have provision, we don't have the same safeguards maybe that are in state and federal government, and look how that works out. Look how their behaviour is with no accountability for how they behave. I mean, yeah, sure, they've got people watching, but I think that the fact that we don't have that means that we've got some vestige of, in this realm where we are contesting ideas, we've got some space. And as for our ability to responsively represent our community, limitations on notice of motions, none of us have abused that. But what if there is a need? What if we can see that there are a couple of items of business that are quite urgent? We don't want to limit our representation or our ability to lead this council. We need to steadily steer this ship back to governance in government. We've had periods of administration where people haven't had a say, which means it's all the more important that we can conduct and lead the business that needs to be done. Limiting that cuts to the fundamentals of making sure that we're able to do the work that needs to be done to represent our community comprehensively for the short time that we're here. This is about the quality of our work. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
I'd just like to speak against this amendment. In terms of Roman numeral 1 and the idea that we shouldn't be capping notices of motion, On reflection, we've seen this year, we've often had more than one from one councillor in a month, and most often those things are not discussed with any other councillors before the meetings, so they end up getting voted down. If a particular individual councillor is feeling constrained by the ability to put a single notice of motion in, they can always discuss it with their other councillors and find somebody who supports their idea and put it in. So then you've got two in, both germinating from the same councillor, and that would demonstrate good governance and teamwork. In terms of Roman numeral 2, adopting this proposed amendment would be against the material provided by the Offices of Local Government and would place us out of step with other local government, would place us out of step with other LGAs, so I don't support it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Foley.
I'd like to speak against this amendment, particularly point 2. The guidelines provide some good safeguards in terms of how a recording would be edited, the notification requirement, and also stipulates that the original recording would not be destroyed, wiped out or altered in any way, so it would still be available for people if they felt the need to GIPA that information. But my concern with not being able to act swiftly on a live stream recording is that if information that has been accidentally slipped out in a council meeting, that could be defamatory, but more importantly could cause personal harm to somebody. So for example, the address of a women's shelter, for example, the school attended by a child at risk. There are certain situations where people may just let information slip, and I think that being able to act swiftly to remove that from the public record is actually really important.
Yeah, look, and I'd just like to say in this very meeting there was discussion about the name of a person that owns a property, and even that to me was probably an overreach, and it's for that purpose that I don't support this. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A question through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. Is there a problem with our meetings and the way they are currently conducted to warrant these changes?
Mr Mayor, I don't wish to answer that.
Okay. And look, I'll refer back to saying we were just naming people's properties only today, which I think is inappropriate, and I know that's not a major, maybe not be a major, but if that person's very upset, the General Manager needs the ability to fix that, to rectify that problem. So, Councillor Farrell.
Just a question through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager. Would this apply to the public forum as well?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to Ms Lidgard.
The Code of Meeting Practice doesn't apply to public forum anymore because public forum is sitting outside of the council meeting. I'll just need to refer to the document to see the public forum policy to see if we did put the same provision in there. I just off the top of my head, I can't remember. I can check that now though.
Thank you. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, we're hearing there's a lot of legal implications in the editing of the live stream, and councillors have referred to that. Was legal advice sought when council confirmed in the written submissions that they will continue to censor live stream?
General Manager.
Mr Mayor, we've relied on the New South Wales Office of Local Government advice. Ms Lidgard, is there anything else you'd like to add? No.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Moylan.
So just so I'm clear, Mr Mayor, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, so no legal advice has been sought for this legal decision?
General Manager.
I've given my answer, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
I have a question. I got through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, I had an email this week from a member of the public Deborah O'Leary, who said that her submission hadn't been included. Could we please, I believe she has emailed that in to council. Could we please make sure that that's able to be tabled?
General Manager, is that something we can add to the minutes, potentially?
Through you, Mr Mayor, we'll have to take it on notice because I don't believe that the directors received it, but we can circulate that to councillors
Yes, it just basically, again, talks, it's another submission.
Thank you, councillor.
Saying that.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Kent,
Can we please put this?
do we have the ability to put this? No, not yet. Councillor Mullum.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will speak to this amendment. I can commend Councillor Russell for this amendment, and I thank those councillors who have contributed to the debate. To Councillor Kent's point regarding the restriction and the reduction of the councillor's right to bring notice of motions to just one, he mentioned that we need to work with as a team. I don't accept that concept. We need to work as councillors who are elected representatives of the community. And to be able to be representatives of the community, we need to be able to bring to council meetings notice of motions on their behalf. Councillor Kent also referred to his preference for councillors to discuss notice of motions before we come to this meeting. Mr Mayor, I am very, very strongly in favour of the Local Government Act, where it very clearly stipulates that all meetings must be open, and any meetings outside of these council meetings are strictly prohibited. I am a strong proponent for open democracy where councillors are able to debate their notice of motions in public view. Secondly, to Councillor Foley's point, regarding the legal implications. There are many legal implications in the live stream editing. It is a complex legal area. However, when Councillor Foley refers to the right for councillors or anyone in this room when we're having council meetings to GIPA the original record of a meeting, it fails to accept that there are difficulties that come with that process, but also any councillor or anyone in the meeting.
Councillor Foley?
I don't believe that I claimed that gippering, that councillors gippering information would, I didn't reference it being a short or quick process. I just said that it was an option.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. It is an option, but it is a complicated process. But more so, it means that a claimant can't easily assess if they have a claim, and a defendant can't easily assess if they are in a position to defend themselves without first going through, without having to go through the GIPA process. So I don't think the reliance on the GIPA process is a very strong one or accessible to councillors. Lastly, the restrictions that have been placed on councillors to speak, what they speak about and how they represent the community, we have just heard, there is no reason, there's no problem to solve here. So these restrictions that Councillor Russell has suggested are removed are superfluous. We don't need them.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to speak to this. Okay, I will now put this amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, all those against, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. So we're back at the original motion that had a change from Councillor Smith. Would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Duffy?
I would just like to speak for this one. I think the works that has been put into this code of meeting practice is good. I like the suggestion from Councillor Smith to include the definition. I think that is also fantastic. And I think everything that we've just debated, it's all covered in this draft code of meeting practice. Sorry, my words.
Thank you. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In the written submissions, I have a question to you, Mr Mayor. In the response of staff to the written submissions regarding the restrictions proposed to be placed on councillors, one of the reasons staff gave to restrict councillors was to ensure effective meetings, the management of effective meetings. Do you agree, Mr. Mayor, that it is the role of the chair to skillfully manage a council meeting rather than the role of a councillor to be restricted in what they can say to ensure a manageable meeting?
It's the role of the councillors to set the rules by which I govern this meeting, and that is what is before us here today. Councillor Kent.
Can we put this motion?
We can. Councillor Smith, would you like a right of reply? Sorry, we need a procedural motion to put the motion. Could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Foley. All those in favour of putting the motion? Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against? Councillor Moylan. And Councillor Smith, would you like a right of reply?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I have a procedural question. Can we check the eligibility on pushing that to the vote?
There was 2 for, 2 against. For the motion.
The original. My original motion with a change.
So we've had speaking for the motion, Councillor Smith and Duffy, and against Councillor Moylan and Kent.
Okay. I will now give Councillor Smith a right of reply.
I'm fine. I'm happy.
And I will now put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. All those against? Councillor...
Sorry, procedurally.
Councillor, I'm chasing your vote.
She spoke to my amendment. She didn't speak to the motion.
Okay. I'm after the votes against. Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, are you voting or abstaining?
Can we just take a moment to make
Councillor,
sure
I'm
we get
asking
this
if you would like
correct?
to vote on this motion.
I'm asking, Mr. Mayor, if we can see what motion we're voting on.
We've just finished putting the for, we're now putting the against for the draft reading practice with the change from Councillor Smith. The amendment was lost and now we've put the original motion. So those against, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, that is carried. Item 9.9, Mittagong STP interim upgrade tender evaluation report. The recommendation is on page 34 of the agenda. Could I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Russell, and a seconder, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Russell.
I would like to commend staff on sharing the Beaker report that we got in response to the May agenda item. I have been, as anyone who is watching council knows, concerned about this this situation that we have with an overloaded sewage treatment plant in a drinking water catchment for some time. I've got some questions before I speak properly.
Sorry, Councillor, that was speaking to the motion.
Okay, so I haven't finished speaking
Keep
then.
going, yeah.
To inform our community, the wording in the Beaker report is quite precise. Achieving this increase in capacity represents a non-trivial exercise. I would contend that we don't actually know that this is going to achieve what we need it to achieve. Our staff have said repeatedly that they don't have the staff hours to calculate how many have been approved for connection to an overloaded sewage treatment plant.
Yeah, so Councillor, we have a point of order.
Okay.
Just checking, Howard. Mr. Mayor,
Sorry.
how is this related to the tender?
Yeah, look, I'll uphold the point of order. It's not related to the tender, please, Councillor.
So in the tender process, I'll actually answer that because it's more like a cure.
It wasn't a question, Councillor.
Okay. So historical information in the integrated water cycle strategy indicates that Mittagong STP was designed for a flow of 240 litres.
We are speaking and debating a
Yes.
tender. We're not speaking the capacities and
The tender process was based on information that was.
the point of order. I will uphold that order. Please don't speak when the chair is speaking. So we what we
the
are
tender
debating,
process,
Councillor. Councillor.
Yes.
Look, with respect, I'm only following the rules. You're not to speak when the chair is speaking. So we have a tender. Just going to clarify for everybody, we have a
Yes.
tender. You've had a
Yes.
point of order raised that you're speaking about capacities and things, that, which was discussed at previous meetings and I believe possibly a previous NOM. We are simply speaking to now the tender.
Sorry, misrepresentation. My nom was disallowed.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, apologies.
yes, I am speaking.
My apologies. Go ahead.
I am speaking about the tender process. That yes, we're deciding whether to accept a tender process for a sewage treatment plant when the information in the tender process was not aligned with what is in our integrated water cycle strategy. If we look at, and I can give you page numbers, if we look at the integrated water cycle strategy, and I invite my colleagues to do this, we have tables in the Public Works Advisory that say that it was designed with a capacity of 240 litres per EP per day. Now, the tender has gone out on the basis of 200 litres per EP per day. What that means, and that was changed because we were operating over capacity in a drought when everything was cake-baked. We are now in a situation where we have to be accurate about the original design capacity to ensure that we're going to be managing in any tender process the actual capacity of the plant. Now, as it stands, if we are adopting 200 litres and we're over capacity.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kent.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, just like to ask for some feedback on the veracity of the statements made by Councillor Russell.
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think we could all agree that the technical aspects of sewer treatment plants is a highly specialised field, and that's why we engage experts. And it requires technical expertise, experience, and the ability to look at that. I'll ask Mr McAllister to talk to the various reports we've had since 2018 and the technical advice we've relied on to form the tender spec that is before you, the tender specification, the tender response that's before you this afternoon. Thank you, Mr McAllister.
Through you, General Manager. The integrated water cycle strategy or management strategy was prepared in 2018, so it's a point in time, by the New South Wales Public Works Advisory. And yes, it does refer to some original design capacities and a capacity of 14,000 EP for the Mittagong STP. It also contains a number of various projections and comparisons of capacity versus population against various litres per EP per day scenarios. What I'd like to note, though, that also in the document, as stated in table 2.1, which is on page 32, that the adopted hydraulic loading of the Mittagong STP is 200 litres per EP per day. Separate to this...
Sorry, through you, Mayor.
Councillor, please do not interrupt the Director.
Separate to this, there's been detailed...
Sorry, point of order.
Okay, Councillor, what is your point of order?
I've just cut and pasted from that, and on page 2,
Sorry,
it
Councillor,
says
what's your point of order?
that the Director of Service and Project Delivery just cited page 32 of the Public Works Advisory, and on that page it says all STPs were designed using hydraulic loadings of 240 litres per EP per day.
Look, to be honest, I'm not sure if that is a point of order, but I'll
It's
let
on Council's website.
I'll let the director finish, and then if you have a question, we can go through that. Sorry, Councillor Farrell, I'll just allow the director to finish, then we'll come back to some questions.
Yes, sorry about that. Just to clarify, yes, on page 32 in table 2.1, it clearly states that the adopted hydraulic loading for the Mittagong STP is 200 litres per EP per day. Separate to this, I want to highlight that there's been a number of technical experts that have reviewed and determined the flow rate and the associated EP through various technical studies and design reports, and they've actually utilised comprehensive, I guess, independent analysis of both the hydraulic loading and the biological loading on the plant. In doing this, they've actually used actual data sets that range from 2017 through to 2020. And that actually confirms that there's a hydraulic loading of the plant in the order of 190 to 200 litres per EP per day. In regards to the tender process, I'd like to correct that it was actually false that we relied upon the integrated water cycle strategy. It is actually false. What we relied upon was those technical reports and design elements that were done to calculate the loading. Most recently, that was done in the June 2024 design report that was done by Becca Hunter in regards to facilitating what was then the design upgrade to 21,000 EP. I'd also like to highlight that the interim project is based upon these design parameters from that report and not the integrated water strategy.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Was my question.
2 seconds, I'll get you,
Yeah.
Councillor.
I would just like to thank the Director, Service and Project Delivery for that comprehensive answer.
Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, is the Director of Service and Project Delivery aware that while on page 34 it states figure 7 to 9 Mittagong STP projected EP growth, biological loading and STP capacity, the current estimated EP of 14,047 exceeds the plant's design capacity of 14,000 EP. For the assessed hydraulic loading of 200 litres per day in this study, the functional hydraulic capacity of the STP is increased to 16,800 EP. So, and then are you aware that there still remains the statement that the original design hydraulic loadings were 240 EP per day?
General Manager.
Mr Mayor, Mr McAllister, is there anything that you wish to add or clarify?
Obviously, no, yes, in the sense of I can also read the report and wanted to highlight that they were the various comparisons around capacity and population scenarios that I mentioned previously. I also want to reiterate that that study was at a point in time. Since then, we've had further technical expertise actually refine that. There has also been a range of capital works upgrades and improvement processes to the plant, including equipment, infrastructure and the processing technology since that point in time, noting that that was 5+ years ago, that has enabled increased processing or better processing within the plant.
Thank you. So I think we're just flagging a break, is that correct? Yep. Yep, I'll second that. All those in favour? That's Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Russell, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick, and all those against, Councillor Moylan. That's carried. where we left off was we were in the motion that 9.9, Councillor Russell has spoken once for it. No one else has spoken. There are a few questions. So where we'll take off from, is there anyone else to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
I've got a question.
She's going to come in, yep.
I've got another question through you, Mayor, to the General Manager. Is the Director of Service and Project Delivery aware that having that original design capacity of 240 litres per EP per day was actually part of the ability to manage the fact that there's no storm, and I'll quote from page 18 of the GHD report, there is no storm, it is the Public Works Advisory, there is no storm diversion before the main reactors. Diversion occurs post-idles, and the process has been designed to hydraulically cater for a peak flow of 7 lots of average dry weather flows. So is the Director aware that that's been factored into that 240 litres?
Just before that, we have a point of order.
Again, we're getting into very technical detail that I failed to understand how this is related to whether we're accepting or not accepting a tender submission.
Yeah, look, I'll uphold it. I'll let this question go through, and then, and I will ask that we ask, as per, where am I here? Actually, it's here. Item 9.18, councillors must put questions directly, succinctly, respectfully, and without argument. So I'll just remind all councillors of that, and I'll go to the General Manager for that question.
Yep. Through you, Mr Mayor. What I can say, councillor, is that the tender specification that went to market, which is before you tonight, is based on current technical experts' input as well as state stakeholder consultation. So, as council's aware, the report that came to you at the May Council meeting, we need to put an interim solution in place. This interim solution will create the capacity until 2029, 2030. And in the meantime, we will work towards the larger solution. The tender tonight will enable that to happen. And if it's accepted tonight, it'll enable it to happen within this financial year, or if not, just after the end of financial year, weather permitting.
Okay. Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, in regards to the information that formed the basis of the tender proposal to ensure we had capacity, is there an understanding that if we actually aligned it to make sure that we were in line with current weather events, then we're at capacity now to accommodate the wet weather flows, to incorporate risk management?
General Manager's answered the questions.
Sorry, I didn't get that answer.
General Manager's
Sorry,
indicated.
Mr Mayor, I've provided a response.
Okay. Councillor Kent.
I'm against this motion.
Okay, I'd like to speak to this. Councillor Foley. Sorry, Councillor, just go again. Yep.
I'd like to speak in support of the officer's recommendation. We know that the Mittagong STP needs an upgrade, and I'd like to see this project commenced as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a question through you to the General Manager. We are with one supplier for this tender. What have we done to mitigate scope creep so that we can control our spend with this one supplier?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Mr McAllister.
Through you, General Manager. It will be done through management of the contract, noting that it has been an independent detailed design in regards to the work to be performed. Due to the timing and ensuring that the work is being delivered this financial year, Council has already proceeded with procuring a number of infrastructure pieces required to actually deliver it as part of the design, again further eliminating risk of delivery and or cost or markup associated with contractor buying that equipment.
Thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, are staff aware that A similar situation with an overloaded plant occurred in Wallandilly and they had to cease connections.
General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I believe Wallandilly is a different scenario to Wingecarribee. Thank you.
Councillor Kent?
Can we please put this motion?
No, I haven't had my right of reply, but no, and I believe Moylan wants to speak to it.
Okay, would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan?
Question through you, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Russell. Would a notice of motion calling for the information that the tender scope was based on be helpful?
Thank you, Councillor Moylan. That's a really helpful question. The point to...
Sorry, Councillor,
Yeah.
if you could just answer yes or no to that?
Well, it actually is a bit more involved because the director suggested that
Councillor,
the
sorry, we're not going
information
to
on
use
the...
this time. I'm going to rule that we're not going to use time for questions to continue debate. Like there's
It's
time
not...
for debate.
I'm sorry, I'm clarifying.
So Councillor Moylan's
Mayor?
asked you if a notice of motion be more suited to what you're asking. It's a simple yes or no. That's my ruling.
I'm investigating the risk management that's been incorporated into the tender scope is what I'm doing.
Okay.
So in terms of a notice of motion, it may be required.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Would else like to speak to this? Okay.
Yes, I would like
Councillor Jolly,
my, I
right
would
to
like
reply?
my,
Yep,
yeah,
go
thank
ahead.
you. We have a situation with the tender process where we used a baseline for an estimation of capacity of the plant that didn't consider the risk management that needs to be in place because there's no stormwater diversion before the reactors. It was part of the initial design capacity and design for the hydraulic flow. I'm not an expert in sewage treatment plants. That's not my job. But my job is to look at the numbers and the information before me and see if we have actually factored in risk management. And as a councillor, I cannot, I am, of course, supporting this tender. We need to do something because Mittagong has had a long-term history of having problems, particularly with the nitrogen. But what I'm suggesting is that if we returned our figures to the original design capacity, which is what they need to be, then our estimation of capacity is essentially what the load that the plant is currently carrying, and we won't be breaching the licence conditions as we have done recently, but just because we have a bit of rain. So that's the point that I wanted to make. I repeat the words that are in that report from the scope, that this is not a non-trivial exercise. I think that when that statement is made, it's let's give this a go, but we are maxing everything out in a drinking water catchment and we have responsibilities to ensure a neutral or beneficial effect. And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll now put this motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Next we have...
I would like to move a procedural motion, Mayor, utilising 9.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice, that business may be considered at a meeting of a council even though it isn't given if it's urgent, and to explain why I believe this is urgent business. I'll note that information in the public forum presentation by Gay White on behalf of Win Zero.
Oh, sorry, yep. So firstly, Councillor, what is your motion without notice?
I'll email it through to governance right now. I think I've got it good to go. So I'll read out the notice of motion, that noting that information in the public forum presentation by Gay White on behalf of Win Zero regarding the emerging risks to human health and environmental health that are as yet unknown about PFAS and PFOS contamination in sewage effluent. And 2, there is no council meeting prior to the review of council's EPA licences for Bowral, Bundanoon, Mittagong and Mossvale STP. and our EPA licences need to be tighter to ensure that we are complying with state planning laws regarding ensuring a neutral or beneficial effect on water quality.
Okay.
3, that submissions from council regarding our EPA licence conditions need to be received by the EPA prior to 2 weeks before the licence reviews of these STPs. 4, our instructions for assessment of tender for the upgrade of Mittagong STP overestimated the original design capacity. 5, our obligations to comply with our own risk appetite policy we have adopted in June, that council requests the General Manager, 1, write to the Minister of Planning and let him know that we consider we need to pause connections to Mittagong STP due to A, the minor upgrade is likely to just cover the developments that have already been approved for connections. B, the new plant currently in design phase is as yet unfunded and not due to be completed until 2030 at the earliest. C, we cannot risk further breaches or plant failure in Sydney's drinking water catchment above a World Heritage Area. D, a need to ensure our risk management and compliance with our neutral or beneficial effect responsibilities in Sydney's drinking water catchment. And then point 2, write to the EPA licensing team requesting that our licence conditions better align discharges that limit total nitrogen to 1 milligram per litre and total phosphorus of less than 1 milligram per litre, and include mandatory and routine PFAS and PFOS screening, testing and reporting that is published through the EPA Public Register, including testing of PFAS and PFOS in sediment below our STPs.
Okay. For this to be considered without notice, it actually requires a motion of council. I'll just check with governance. Am I putting a procedural motion to allow this? Or just because we haven't done one of these before?
Yeah, got it all stepped out here. So we need a seconder for the procedural motion.
So I'll
Yep.
just step through it. Could I get a seconder for this? Councillor Moylan? Yep.
And then the council laws need to decide whether
To want to hear this
Yes.
as a matter of, okay. I'll now, so I'm putting,
So they're voting either for or against the procedural motion.
so if you're voting for this motion, you're voting to hear it. If you're voting against,
And then you need to decide whether it is a matter of
Depending on
urgency,
the-
depending on the outcome.
Okay, so I will put this procedural motion. So if you are for it, you'll be hearing it. If you're against, then we will not be hearing it. Is that clear with everybody? Okay, I'll now put this procedural motion. All those in favour? Councillor Foley, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell. All those against? Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. That has lost. We are now on to 9.13, Wombian Caves Road, slip repairs, tender evaluation. The recommendation on page 53 of the agenda. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Duffy, a seconder. Councillor Foley, Councillor Duffy.
I would just like to speak for this. This is a good start to getting this road repaired.
Thank you. And I'd like to speak to this. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A question through you to the General Manager. When do we expect the works to commence and finish for Wombian Caves Road repair?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr McAllister.
Through you, General Manager, the works will commence early in the new year and the majority will be completed, if not all completed, by the end of the financial year, so around June, July 2026.
Okay. Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you again to the General Manager. If the full $5.1 million of the disaster funding is not spent, where will the balance go?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Mr McAllister.
Through you, General Manager, in simple terms, anything that is not acquitted through our actual spend on the project needs to be returned to the Recovery Authority of New South Wales.
Okay. And Councillor Foley.
I'd like to speak for the officer's recommendation. I'm really pleased to see that the funding is happening and this project is going to commence.
Okay. Councillor Moylan.
So is this disaster relief funding, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, is this disaster relief funding tied to this particular road, or can it be, the balance be used for other roads?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, as the Director stated, the claim is that the funding is linked to a claim. The claim is for that amount for that road. If any of the funds are not used, then it needs to be returned to the state. So with DFRA, there's a complex and complicated, I would say, claim process, and every amount of money is linked to the specific road where that specific damage occurred.
Thank you. Councillor Mullen.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm thrilled to see that we have received the funding for Wombian Caves Road repair. This particular road has been the source of much concern from the community. There has been a number of serious car accidents, and also it's critical for bushfire escapes, and we are in peak season for bushfire. So I am thrilled to see that this is finally happening for the community, and also the broader community, given the bushfire risk.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to this. Okay. Councillor Russell.
I would just like to acknowledge the community who have been living down and along that road, who've been able, I can only imagine what it's cost their cars in the interim. I'm so glad we're going to be able to get this done for you, and very grateful for the funding support that we've got here.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to speak to this. Okay. I'll now put this motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item 9.16, Bushland Biosecurity Management Services Tender Evaluation Report. The recommendation is on page 67 on the agenda. Could I get a mover for this? Councillor Smith, a seconder. Councillor Farrell. Councillor Smith.
I'd just like to speak for this motion.
Thank you. And also Councillor Russell.
I've got some questions through you, Mayor, to the General Manager. In terms of our ratios of what it looks like for our workforce in this department to do these skills, what are the ratios like in terms of what we're tendering out to what we've got in-house?
All right, General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Mr McCabe.
Through you, General Manager, I don't have any specific ratios. What I will say is the environment team, as it stands today, excluding the manager, is 17 FTE, Environment Sustainability Team, that deliver a lot. It's quite a dynamic program because a lot of it's subject to grant funding with certain vesting dates, etc. And also to have, whilst we've got great skill and knowledge and capability, there are some things like abseiling, which our staff just can't do, and it's not safe to do.
What a pity. Sorry, through you, Mayor, to just that clarification. How many of those staff are corporate staff and how many are on the ground?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, councillors, we've got a tender before you, and the tender is a refresh of the panel. The panel, as I understand, has been in place for over a decade. Is it, Mr McCabe? Yep. So that's what's before you. There's no change to our staffing levels. This is purely to refresh the tender panel. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, my question was actually how many of the staff that the Director referred to, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, how many of those are non-corporate staff?
I think the General Manager's answering.
No, sorry, to misrepresentation. She hasn't, the General Manager...
Sorry, Councillor, that's not a misrepresentation.
The General Manager stated...
Can I get your point of order, Councillor Smith, please?
Speaking over the chair once again.
Yeah, look, I will just remind everybody that, again, in the rules, it's when the chair's speaking, not to speak, so please. General Manager doesn't finish.
Through you, Mr Mayor, respectfully, I don't see how that's relevant to the tender that's before you. There is no change to the staff FTE, and the report before the council is to refresh the tender panel.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Russell.
Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, the director stated that we had 18 FTE in the environment team, I believe, and I asked how many of that
So, Councillor, the General Manager has provided a response. If you're not satisfied with the response, it is what it is.
Okay, I'll speak to it.
Go ahead.
I would like to commend the staff on the excellent process they did to provide this tender panel. It was an exceptional process. All of the due diligence was there. Excellent job. Thank you.
Okay, then so I expect this. Okay, and I put this motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Next up, we have the notice of motion. Before we kick that off, Councillor, do you have a funding source for this notice of motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do. It was suggested by the staff in the answer to my question sheet. It was bringing forward the funding for the resourcing strategy.
Sorry, Councillor. So I might get General Manager to...
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think Ms Jones would like to clarify that. Thank you.
Councillor Russell, maybe a slight confusion. The suggestion was to bring forward the budget for the service review program, not the resourcing strategy.
Oh, thank you. The service review program. Yes, bring forward the budget for the service review. Thank you for the clarification on wording.
So is that is that an appropriate source?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Councillor, how much?
Through Mayor, it doesn't. Is that a trick question?
No, at all. I mean, the
so-
councillors can't debate a blank cheque.
So, no, but the councillors, without going into closed, do I need to move a procedural motion to go into closed session so we can see the current costings for the AEC service review?
Councillor, I can't dictate what procedural motion.
Okay, so I'll put a procedural motion if you're questioning how much. I asked the staff how much, where would we get funding from? I was provided an answer, so I'm assuming that they have been able to evaluate, I'm trusting the staff that they've been able to evaluate that
General
funding
Manager,
option.
do we have a costing for councillors nom?
Through Mr Mayor, I don't, Ms Jones, I don't believe so.
It's a chicken and egg proposition, councillors, so without defining the scope, we can't get a quote for the works.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Molan?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Question through you to the General Manager. Could you please point to me in the Code of Meeting Practice where it requires a councillor to provide a cost estimate? I know it requires a councillor to identify a source of funds, which Councillor Russell has done, but could you please help me understand where it requires a councillor to provide a quote?
So I can take that question. It doesn't explicitly state that. However, I don't, as the chair, I don't know what amount we are debating. Is it $100? Is it 50,000? Is it 100,000? So look, for clarity, and we can let it go through, but I'd like it to be known that we'd be debating something with no cost attached to it. And we, of course, the funding source is accepted, but as a chair, I'm saying that there is no amount, so I don't know the amount we're debating, but I'm happy to see it through. So with that, could I get a seconder? Councillor Moylan and Councillor Russell.
Well, I would like to move it with a change after the advice of staff to start with.
Okay. Yep.
That I take note that it couldn't be done before February in the meeting. So that council requests the General Manager amend the scope of the AEC review currently underway on financially sustainability to include, so change it to include business cases for service delivery, best value, on the items of service that council ORs are being asked? Whether to continue or not, comma, at what service level, comma, and then you can take out, that to the identifying, so identifying the best options for ratepayer value, analysing costs, benefits and risks, to support council make understanding of options in fiscally sustainable investment decisions, whether we seek or retain more in-house staff on market. Okay, so fiscally sustainable investment decisions, you can put a full stop and then take out the next to whether, but include with contextual consideration of council's regional location.
Okay. Okay.
And then take out the 1, 2, 3 because we'll need to look at all of them. So just, yeah.
Okay, could I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell.
We represent ratepayers and we have a responsibility under the Local Government Act to ensure that we are getting the very best value for rates. It's actually a provision in the Act. We need to make sure that we are leading this ship. We need to be providing a steady hand and strategic guidance to staff in terms of how we engage a workforce strategy. We know that it can be 40 to 50% more if we outsource out to contractors rather than employ in-house staff. It does mean that we might be needing to rebuild our works department, but what a success that would be. We could be employing local people with skin in the game. That's local money going towards supporting local jobs, and then that money can be spent back within our community. We know that you've got extra costs in terms of your corporate workload as well if you're managing contractors. You've then got to manage those relationships. It's extra staff that we're employing in the corporate when we could actually just be putting people on the ground who've got skin in the game. We can be more accountable for the quality of our roads. We all know that if you're in a position where there's got to be a profit involved, and particularly if you've got to pay someone transport, accommodation from out of area, then that's not going to get the ratepayer the best bang for the buck. I really appreciated a member of our community, Mark Gregory, coming and speaking to us at the public forum and reminding us who we are here to serve. We've got to do our jobs. We've come back after a period of administration and we've got to make sure that we are in charge. We are responsible for the size of whatever budget. We have had decreasing budget. We have had increasing deficits for the last 5 years. So we've got to make sure that there's no stone unturned. And I would hasten staff, should councillors see to adopt this, to actually prioritise that. Because if we understand what cost something's going to be, the best value we can get, we're going to be able to offer more for our community with less. So it seems to me a pretty basic step that this should be a preamble. I did have a look at our current workforce resourcing strategy as suggested by staff, and nowhere in that, in any of the risks, does it mention financial.
Thank you, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Councillor Moylan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to foreshadow an amendment.
Can I have that amendment? Sorry.
No, a motion. You want to foreshadow a motion? It's a motion.
No, you can.
To replace
You can
this.
foreshadow amendment or an emotion,
Yeah, an amendment.
or you can just move an amendment now if you like. Up to you.
Yeah, I'll move an
Okay,
amendment.
go ahead. Can I get the wording, please?
That council request the general manager include and then deleting amend the scope of the include in the AEC financial sustainability review and then after review, a comprehensive review of the resourcing strategy, including the concept of in-house versus out-of-house service provision. Full stop.
Okay. Councillor Russell, do you, sorry, you were done there, Councillor? Yep. Councillor Russell, do you accept that amendment? Okay, that is the motion. Sorry? Can Council not accept that as an amendment?
Sorry,
guys.
Mr Mayor, I'll just ask the manager governance to clarify where we're at and the process for councillors. Thank you.
So we've already got the motion on the table, been moved and seconded. Councillor Moylan is moving an amendment, so we need to deal with that. I don't have a seconder at this point, I don't think, for the... Yep.
Could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Russell. Okay. All those... Sorry, you have a seconder? Go ahead for your amendment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I commend Councillor Russell for bringing this notice of motion to council. Resourcing is a big component of any finances of any company. So Councillor Russell has done the right thing to shine a spotlight on this to make sure that we are comprehensively reviewing our finances to ensure we get the best rate, the best value for rates for our residents. To review the resourcing strategy is a neat way to achieve this. And I've called out the concept of in-house versus out-of-house. It comes part and parcel with any resourcing strategy. And we have passed the new procurement policy, and the main change of that is to actually recognise out-of-local suppliers. So this is a perfect opportunity to revisit local versus local suppliers, but also in-house versus out-of-house.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Smith?
I have a question. Given that this amendment asks for a comprehensive review and we're talking about the AEC, I have a question, Mr Mayor, through of the General Manager. I'd imagine this would incur a cost.
Also, is the AEC review a comprehensive review of the strategy? Would they be, it's up to us to review our strategy, right? General Manager.
I might go first and then I'll hand over to Ms Jones. At the moment, we've identified 27 different service types across the organisation. So councillors, I'm going by the service catalogue. Hang on, I'm handing over to you. Sorry, it's the end of the year. So we've identified within the service catalogue, which we've spoken about as part of the financial sustainability work, there are 27 services, but they're further broken down beneath that, which Ms Jones will add more detail and correct me on. So I guess what I would say is if the intent is to do a review of all of those services in terms of whether they're in-house or whether they're contracted out, the way in which those services are delivered will impact on the level of resourcing and the type of resourcing that's required. So so I think it's more a case of if that's something the council's of a mind to, you'd review the service first to work out what's best value, what the service delivery model is, and that also informs the resourcing strategy and the skills and what's appropriate, what's not. There was a comment made before that councillors are being asked about what services to continue or not to continue. That conversation has not occurred as part of the AEC work. And the other comment I would make is that a comprehensive service review, as is being contemplated here, would, in my view, and Ms Jones may have a different view, but would require a different procurement process. I think it would be quite substantial, and I don't think it's a minor variation to the AEC contract. Ms Jones?
Okay. Would else like to speak to this amendment? Councillor Moylan.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, thank you for that. What I'm hearing is that a review of the resourcing strategy is a natural next step, and we would do that anyway. Given that, there's nothing in this amendment other than the timing with the February session that is particularly offensive.
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rarely take offence. But what I would say is with what's proposed, it would be a fresh procurement process. And if we're talking about looking at all services holistically, and we're talking about best value and service delivery model, that I believe would be expensive, but we need to test the market, see what the fees would be.
Councillor Kent.
I'd just like to speak against this. I think we're getting wrapped around an axle on one aspect of the material that this comprehensive sustainability review is going to investigate. In February, AEC bring us back a whole series of analysis on our current and future finances that this is one question, one angle we can get into, and we don't know, we don't know what we're asking him to do really and what the cost would be. So my question to the General Manager through the Mayor is, this kind of question, is it prohibited through the work we've already engaged AEC to do? In other words, can we, would it be reasonable to be having, if the councils are so minded, to have these kind of discussions when we receive the material back from the AEC? In other words, is it within scope in a broad sense?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that would seem a logical approach, Councillor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Moylan.
Through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, would you agree that resourcing informs decisions made around services, and the way we deliver services also informs how we do resourcing, meaning that we need to look at both components at the same time to make a holistic decision?
General Manager.
Following on from the previous, I think, Councillor Kent about sequencing. Once we have the financial assessment, we understand the condition of our assets, we understand the gap between the revenue we've got, the cost of maintaining what we have, then that's when we start, I think, to look at options.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
I would like to speak against this amendment, and I'd like to reiterate the wise points that Councillor Kent made. I think that this is correct. The AEC review is already in process. These people are very professional, and so I feel we are messing with things and may overcomplicate it. So I'll be voting against this.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
I commend Councillor Moylan for making my motion more elegant. In regards to the process, and we really are looking at what to do when, we know that already staff have had input into how much they believe the provision of services will cost on our current model, which means we have not tested before we get to a decision about how we move forward to address our series of budget deficits. We have not addressed the first point that needs to be addressed, which is what is the best value for rates in how we provide the services. It's a step that we missed because we didn't have input into the scope. If councillors had been able to have input into the scope of this review, then I would have raised this at that point. But unfortunately, that bit was missed, probably because we've been in a period of administration. And, you know, so things have been used to getting a different way. But when it comes to our financial strategy, it is up to us to identify these risks. And I'll reiterate, in nowhere in our current risk matrix is it really challenged on how are we providing this. Yet fundamentally we know in a regional area, you can look at as much data as you like, it's a lot more expensive to rely on contractors, as many contractors as we do, than it is to provide those services in-house. And that's my contention anyway, and it deserves to be tested, because this, at the end of the day, we are in financially austere times. Our community is struggling to pay rates. There's rental stress out there in the community. We want to make sure that we're giving people the best value for money in line with our obligations.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Could I ask a question through you, Mr Mayor, of the General Manager? Councillor Russell just spoke about how that bit had been missed because we'd been in administration. That seems like a pretty concerning claim to make. Could I ask the General Manager to clarify that point, please?
General Manager.
Thanks. Through you, Mr Mayor. So AEC were engaged following Council's adoption of the operational plan. And in this year's operational plan for the 25-26 financial year, there are a number of actions that relate to financial sustainability and implementing the finance strategy. The AEC work is technical work at this point. It's analysing, looking at financial data, it's looking at asset data, it's technical. When we get to the point about looking at levels of service, how we engage with the community, when we look at various options, we'll move into, I think, where Councillor Moylan and Russell are talking. But it wasn't linked to administration, Councillor Smith.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mayor, I'll speak to misrepresentation. Councillor Smith said that I said that we didn't get a chance to do this because of being in administration. I just said that maybe we didn't do this because we got used to being in administration and without councillors in charge. That's what my intention was.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kent.
Can we please put this motion?
We can put this amendment. We'll need a procedural motion to put it. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Smith. All those in favour of putting this amendment? Councillor, that's carried unanimously. Okay, we're now back at the motion. Would else like to speak to this? Yes, we do. Apologies. It's not the motion. Apologies. We have to vote on this. I will now put this motion. All those in favour of this amendment? It's close. Councillor Duffy, Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell. Those against? Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. That is lost. We are now back. Apologies, everybody, at the original motion. Would else like to speak to this?
I'd like to I'd actually like to put an amendment.
I'll just check with governance. Governance, can we amend? You can't amend your own motion, I don't believe. Can you amend it if it's your motion? Okay. Yep. What's your amendment?
My amendment is that we add to my motion are we on my, that's not the, yeah, that's right. We add point 2. That council, so we've got that council, so 1, request the general, and so this is, point 2, council, investigate the re-establishment of a finance committee.
Okay, could I get a seconder for that? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell.
We had a wonderful speech from Mark Gregory in the public forum questioning why we needed to contract out this particular thing in the first place to AEC. And it was actually a very pertinent point. Earlier this year, I suggested to councils what I considered to be an incredibly reasonable proposition after I had a look at our draft budget, which was to investigate the re-establishment of a finance committee. I understood that Shoalhaven Council had saved $13 million by bringing in a finance committee. The Mayor has raised a number of points here about the fact that this is potentially going to cost us more in consultancy fees if we investigate this. Actually, I'll have to do another amendment, it appears, because I should take out the, we wouldn't have to amend the scope of the AEC. I'll just keep talking. That it's a point of...
Sorry, we've got a point of order. Councillor Smith.
What is the actual, are you amending or is this
That's it.
the motion?
That's the motion.
And could I get clarification as well? This is different to the original notice of the original nom.
To be honest, I have been thinking about that. It's been going on. Councillor, and apologies, I should have picked it up. Governance, is it related enough that we should have been here? Look, we're in it now. Look, we're in it now. Councillor, you were speaking and you're saying you have a further amendment. Would you like to just...
It's the point and how it's related is because if we established a finance committee, we would be able to potentially use that finance committee to do much of this investigation. As I said earlier, Shoalhaven, by utilising the resources within the community, have been able to save $13 million. And that's no small sum. It's really good to have. I agree that it's really good to have independent eyes on it, because the more perspectives we get from professional people, the better value we can get for ratepayers. So I am proposing that we investigate what has worked in other council areas. Blue Mountains managed to utilise a similar thing to a finance committee to make enormous savings as well. This has worked time and again. And when ARIC Chair came and spoke to us about the financial sustainability issues that we have in council at present, and I asked him about how we would do those business cases and take the time, he acknowledged that they do take time to do business cases, cost-benefit analysis, sensitivity reviews, sensitivity analysis. And I asked him, well, how could we do that within a finance committee? And he acknowledged that we could. So I believe that because we can, we need to, for our ratepayers in these times.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to this amendment? So, a seconder? Councillor Moylan, would you like to speak to this, Councillor? Go ahead.
I commend Councillor Russell on her notice of motion and this subsequent amendment of the Finance Committee. Firstly, to the notice of motion itself, I maintain that any financial decisions with quality are always holistic. So as I said before, the resourcing of a service informs whether we want to keep a service, and on the flip side, whether the decision on whether we want to keep a service informs the resourcing strategy. So I maintain that we need to have a holistic review of our finances and include the resourcing piece up front. Secondly, on the Finance Committee itself, transparency over our finances, Mr. Mayor, is critical to any council. We have not got the transparency that we require to do our jobs as councillors, and it's great we've got this financial sustainability review coming up in February. However, it is a year late.
Sorry, we just have a point of order. Councillor Duffy?
Yeah, so Councillor Moylan said we don't have the resources to do our jobs, and I think that that's an incorrect statement. I don't know what kind of point of order that is, but I just don't think that that's a correct statement.
That's noted, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Moylan?
I'll speak to a misrepresentation and misunderstanding, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I did not say we don't have the resources to do our job. I said we don't have enough enough transparency on the finances in order to do our job.
Thank you for clarifying.
It's on the public record that many councillors have said that we don't need a finance committee because we can ask as many questions as we like in council meetings on the finances. There has been a pattern of restricting councillors to speak in council meetings, and indeed we have just passed further restrictions on councillors being able to speak in meetings. So I do not accept that we don't need a finance committee. Secondly, transparency over the finances allows us to do one of our primary obligations, which is to get the best value for rates. Without transparency, full transparency on our finances, we cannot commit to doing exactly that. So I support Councillor Russell on this. Thirdly, on the Finance Committee, another reason for councillors on the public record not wanting a Finance Committee is because we have an ARIC. The ARIC, the auditors, do not look at what we are spending money on. ARIC looks on how and looks at accounting standards, so they are completely separate. We absolutely need a finance committee in this council, and we cannot put our hand on our heart and say we are driving best value for rates without it.
Thank you. Who else like to speak to this amendment? Okay, I'll now put this amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, those against, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith, Councillor Fitzpatrick. We are back at the original motion. Would else like to speak to this? Councillor, would you like your right to reply? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. We're in a place where we want to be rebuilding our council with our community, as is our motto, by our community. Let's get local jobs and for our community. Let's make sure that our money stays right here in the Southern Highlands when and where we can. The Local Government Act, 8A, Guiding Principles for Councils. 1, exercise of functions generally. The following general principles apply to the exercise of functions by councillors. Council should provide strong and effective representation, leadership, planning and decision-making. B, councils should carry functions in a way that provides the best possible value for residents and ratepayers. We haven't ensured that yet. We want to make sure that we're giving ratepayers the very best bang for their buck. We are ratepayers. We're going into a situation now when you can see from our trajectory, from our budget history, that we're going to have to make some pretty tough choices that are going to impact our community and our quality of life. I want to remind everyone of our North Star vision. Our North Star vision is by 2030 that Wingecarribee will play a place where the most livable place where all generations thrive. Now, what does that look like? How do we get there? I'll tell you what, we get there when we're supporting our local community, when we're looking after each other. And that is the intention. This is an intention to demonstrate a council that cares about how our spending and how our decisions and how our strategic decisions affect our community. And I would encourage you to support this on that regard.
Thank you. Okay, I will now put this motion. All those in favour? Councillor Moylan, Councillor Russell, all those against? Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Foley, Councillor Kent, Councillor Smith. And with that, we would love to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and just to know that the banners won't disappear at the end of Christmas. We now have all of the artworks in the chamber for us to look at. So anything else, General Manager? Oh, you do? Go ahead.
I'll speak fast. I just wanted to say, as we break, thank the Mayor for his positive leadership, which the team at WSC recognise and appreciate, and all councillors for your hard work over the last 12 months and your support of me and of our team here. I would also like to thank the executive and the management team, Mr McCabe and his managers, Ms Linton, Mr Shalito and Mr Arthur. Mr McAllister and his managers, apart from their day jobs, they also do a lot of after hours in terms of responding and assisting our local combat agencies, and in particular Mr Robinson, Mr Mellor, Mr Mills and Ms Targa. Ms Jones and her managers, Mr Harb, Mr Tozer, Ms Lidgard, Ms Parks and Ms Badgett-Julieff, and our CFO, Pav Kuzmanowski, who's probably got one of the toughest jobs, I believe. I would also like to say a special thank you to Jess Kaiser, who is the Mayor and my EA, and for all of her work in not only supporting the Mayor and I, but I know she also provides a lot of support to the councillors as well, whether it's running off business papers for some, or whether it might be doing a bit of a run to drop something off, and she does an amazing job. WSC is built on our values of resilience, efficiency, safety, pride, empathy, courage and teamwork, and every day we live those, and lately courage has been a big one. It's a whole of team effort in delivering for our community, and I'm very proud of the team we've built. And we may have some exciting news next week that I've been sworn to secrecy on, but we're kicking a lot of goals. And only last week we won, and it's another trophy for the pool room. We won an award at the Environment, LG New South Wales Environment Awards for one of our strategic planning projects. I'd just like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a healthy, safe and relaxing New Year. I hope you all get to exhale and enjoy your time with whoever you're with, and looking forward to 2026 as we continue to deliver on councillors' priorities and kick more goals. So thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the meeting at 6:21. Merry Christmas.